Welcome to another Costume Confidential. I'm Mona May, and today I'm thrilled to speak with costume designer Dayna Pink about her incredible work on season 2 Prime Video's Fallout. Welcome, Dayna. So great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
I actually have to tell you, I didn't know about the game. So I watched the episode that they sent me and I was hooked. I was like, okay, now I need to know everything. So I watched the first season, I watched the whole of second season, and it just took me in so completely. I just fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with the world. I probably will never play the game, but it doesn't matter. It's so fun. It's so high quality. I was so incredibly impressed how beautiful the worlds that have been created. And I don't know if any game was ever made into a TV show that looks that beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I think what's so cool about this show is it's kind of there's something for everyone, you know? Yes, it's rooted in the game, and I really do try and respect that because there's these fans know everything about everything. And so we want to make them happy and we want them to recognize stuff, and that's part of the fun of it. But also, like, everybody can enjoy this show because it's just a good show. It's really funny. In ways that is unexpected. You know, it's shot on film, so it's beautiful, and the production design is beautiful. It's something for everyone. It's really a surprise. This show is surprising and amazing.
And even, I'm not really into for violence and all that kind of stuff, but the way that it's really, even though it's action heavy, I mean, all the stunts and blowing things up, it's like a ride. I mean, it truly is like a ride.
And I think for me, the way that I've always worked is that, like, I'm not making a horror or a sci-fi or, there's things that you have to do, and I'm sure you're the same, like, we're just telling the story, and then, okay, yeah, we have to make multiples, and, you have to consider the action in it. But, like, we're not giving anything away, we're really just making the appropriate costumes for who these people are when they show up, and then whatever happens to them almost is none of my business in some way except for to do the multiples or things to accommodate what they do.
Yeah, I mean, we are storytellers, I mean, we really are. I mean, it's so interesting. I saw interview when you were talking about how you got into the business, and it was such a cool moment.
Oh, well,
When
thank
you were
you.
in Baltimore, and I think you were doing, videos, music videos,
Yeah,
and different things, very creative stuff, working with musicians, and then you
yeah.
came to LA and you're offered this movie, and you were like, I don't know, should I do this movie or not? And you went in and you started talking about how to create these characters, and like you were hooked.
That's exactly right. Thank you for watching that. That's so cool. Both things are important. Like the fact that I came up in the fashion part and I understand fashion and construction and all that is so cool. And you use that every day. But then the idea that every single piece that we wear, like your glasses, tell me who you are. Your hat tells me who you are. So every decision we make in the morning of what we put on ourselves helps to tell everybody else that comes through our world who we are. And so we get to do that. We get to decide. So we get to read the script, see the thing, see where they came from, what is the backstory, what do they want? Because a lot of times we dress for what we want, then put together, decide what that's going to be. And that's fun. That's just I can't believe I get to do that every day.
And you can really see that in your work. I love that because it's interesting because it's grime, it's sweat, it's desert, it's dust. But then you have the shiny, the suit on Justin Theroux. I mean, wow, that's to me, it's like, high fashion. Paris runway could be something so beautiful. Such a nice kind of blend of things, that you never get boring. I mean, I think it was just, look at that. I mean, this is so fabulous.
Thank you. What's so exciting about that to me is that, like, in the game, he's like and in the script, it was like blue blazer, white pants, which could be such a snooze cruise, right? Like, it could be like a nothing burger. But, like, to me, where I'm from, there's like, the Tom Ford lapel idea, the inspo, plus mix that with the 40s, 50s of a high-waisted pant. And so it's like there's the that of it, which yes, okay, great, I can take credit for that. Here's what I cannot take credit for, how a man wears a suit, and Justin Theroux, that combo of what we made for him and how he carries himself because what we put on somebody makes them sit differently, stand differently, move differently, and understanding how to wear a suit is a whole thing for a guy because sometimes there's a slump, there's a thing, and then everything comes untucked, and it's, our biggest nightmare. But this is a man that knows how to wear a suit, knows how to sit, knows how to move, and what we did was so amplified by his character and how he felt in that and how he moved in it, that it's sort of, you could argue, is a blue blazer, period tie pants. It isn't the most exciting thing, but the cut of it, the fit of it, the tailoring, the fabrics that we chose, combined with the Justin of it all, was a perfect storm.
I love it. I mean, I love the lapel. I really love the proportion of it because, it's not a period show per se. You can take, I think, liberties. There's no historian. You're not looking at the specific
That's
button.
exactly right. I say it's like the '50s, like faux, like PHIFTIES, like, it's
Love
like,
it.
but it's inspired by that, and then we have the room to, like, maybe a fabric wasn't available in the '50s, but we still get to use it because there is this weird futuristic element to it, so we get to do a little bit of a combo of both, and then it's sort of like there is no wrong answer here, which makes it really exciting to design because you have all this room that otherwise, if you're doing something that's supposed to be true to the period, you don't have that room.
I also love the tie. I don't know if the tie color is from the game or tell me about it because it's so perfect to the red.
It was like red tie, blue jacket, white pants, and then I was literally like, "Hmm, okay, how can I just make this amazing?" And, like, then we drew it, and then we created it.
I mean, it's such a clean lines. It's so slick. It's so simple, but effective. The fittings must have been so much fun.
Fitting him is amazing. All my actors are so great, and we have so much fun, and they get excited because a lot of them just have 1 costume because then, we know what happens and it's not good. When we made the Xander outfit, when he came in and we showed him the illustration of it, he was just like, "Oh my god," and then we put it on. It's so much fun for them. But he saw the sketch, and then we started putting these pieces on him, and then it helps them know who they are going to be. You know that, like, we're a lot of times the first point of contact. And so what we do with them in that room helps sort of design who they are when they walk out onto that set. And so seeing this inspired him, and he was so amazing in the show and so much fun. But, I like to think that we contribute to that by what we create and who we help them be when we change them.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it feels powerful. I mean, this one is so sexy too. I love the shearling coat. I love the hardware that you put on. I love the belt. It's kind of like kind of Western, but not really. And then the futuristic shirt too. Every costume is also very beautifully now, number one, sketched and rendered, but then executed. I really think that you have some really good team behind you, beautiful, tailors, because everything is really classy.
Yeah, we don't work in a vacuum. We get to do these amazing things because of all the hands that touch the things, from the rendering to help choosing fabrics and the choices that I get to make and where they come from, and then my tailors and just everything. It's just such a combination of people, to the set people who have to watch them and keep them impeccable. There's not
Or dirty.
or dirty, exactly. It's just there's so many hands that touch these, and I'm grateful for all of them because the show is a monster in many ways.
It's a marathon, I think. Nobody knows what's behind this. Like how hard a TV show where it's made to order with such worlds that you're creating. I mean, level on level on level. It was mind-boggling. I mean, this show, this season particularly, I think was a lot going on. You had a lot on your hands.
And I got to learn, which is cool, because that's part of what's fun about our jobs too, is you take a job and you learn about a period, or you learn about fabrics, or you learn about characters. For the Legion, we made all that armor, and a lot we used found objects or we copied found objects. There's hubcaps for and then we molded the leather. And I had Deborah Ambrosino, who's this incredible specialty costume maker, and she was the head of the specialty department. And so all the leather, all the things which came from vintage sporting pieces, or we just had them molded, and the arm wraps and all the things. So I learned about making some things that I didn't know before. And that was what was so fun. Yeah, we took found pieces.
I mean, but that's the fun of it. I think that really is like to, be free and kind of create something that has not been seen, something unique, innovative in a way. I mean, I think you've molded some stuff too, right? For the Lacerat.
For Macaulay, yeah, we made that whole costume, which was really fun, and we did take found object or things that existed, like for the captives, we had, like, Converse or Keds, and we turned them into gladiator sandals, so we, like, put, pieces of canvas up the back, and we used shoelaces to tie them all the way up their legs. So we just did all these, like, things that existed and turned them into weird period or futuristic things.
To also work with people who allow you to do that. I mean, having the guide of the game, of course, but I think to really be able to kind of come and get your hands dirty and
It literally hands dirty. Yes, hands filthy. And then there's the dirty and gross, but then there's, like, the beautiful things that we got to create for the flashback stuff. So, oh,
look at him, Walton.
yeah, he's amazing. He looks great in clothes. He's such a fun fit. So we got to make him shiny and an icon and a movie star and all that. And that was really such an honor to be able to do.
I mean, he really is kind of like, the Rat Pack.
Exactly. He's that, and there's a little Western thing to it, so there's, like, a touch of both, but it's pretty and shiny. We took shapes from the era, and then we used, more modern fabrics for some of it.
I love his little ascot too. I'm a big fan of ascots. So
Me too, me too.
when you were in the fittings with him particularly, like when you were doing the 50s flashbacks, did he want it to be more relaxed or more uptight or, were there kind of discussions or that or just it was natural kind of how it came
It
about?
was natural. There's an ease to Walton. The way he carries himself, there's an ease, and so that inspired me for this character as well. At that time, with the high waist and the big pockets, is so great for him because you just see him with his hands in his pockets and the way he moves and the way the fabrics move. So even though they're suits, there's still an ease to it because of how he carries himself, and he can pull off an ascot because we would never put an actor in something they can't pull off, and sometimes you would put an actor in something, and no matter in the rendering, it could look amazing, but you put it on somebody, and you're like, no, that's not." But he can pull it off, so he's actually very natural in it, and I did one scarf for him with the copper suit when he was in Vegas, and he kind of falls apart, and so we made that a very long scarf that's sort of tucked in, and then when he's riding the bull and he's drunk and the scarf comes out and it's going and he's going, that was the inspiration for it because there's this moment that happens and they slowed it down the way they shot it. And all of it was such a beautiful combination of what we do, what he does, what the cameraman, it was this whole.
It's like unraveling too in a sense.
Exactly. He was unraveling, and the way that they shot it was so wonderful, and it was the best of all the versions of the world, and that moment I'm really proud of because it really what must that have felt like for him as an actor as that scarf was moving, and so it's probably added to what he was doing.
I think everything matters, all the steps, I think, like you said, it really gives the actor so much information. Completely disheveled almost person.
Yeah, and still beautiful in a way, right? Like, it's all, like, weirdly beautiful, and that's all that I know, and that is always my inspiration is it doesn't matter if it's dusty, there's always a way to make something weirdly beautiful, and so I want it all to be pretty in completely different ways, but I do want it all to be pretty.
And, aging is so important. People really forget about that. It's such an art. I actually love aging myself. I love to get my hands dirty because it truly is. It can all look black and flat, or you have, the layers and kind of like movement of the fabric and textures. I mean, that's what so I think really stands out on him in that particular costume.
The way that it moves, right? Also, all the background in that free side, those people were all supposed to come from Las Vegas when the bomb goes off. So what we did, which was really fun, was we decided like who each person was, the background when they came in the room. Like you would look and you, okay, where was that person? Oh, that was a dealer in Las Vegas. So you dress him like a dealer and then things just fell apart and were deconstructed. We had housekeepers, we had valet parkers, we had showgirls, we had, like, guys in silk robes that had fallen apart, but every single background, which was hundreds of background, had a backstory, every single person, and I, for weeks, was there. I have a great background department, but I went, to those fittings. So, I cannot tell you, it was some of my most fun experiences on this whole show was being in that room, fitting some of that background with my team because we were just deciding who they are. Because then you would take this high roller wife. Like, she's a gown, she's a fur, she has a wrap, a faux fur wrap, and then she's got a Sam Brown on her, and then she's got weird gauntlet-y things, right? So it's like you're taking that and deconstructing it and adding the wasteland to it, and that was really fun.
I think for everyone, all the audience, but I think for the gamers too, something fresh and new, maybe there's something, not imagined even that world that way. So I think as a designer too, you can maybe bring something more extra, for their new experiencing this game now on screen.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, I hope so. I hope they get excited. We want them to be able to recognize, they see the cons, they see the kings and go, "Oh, that's who that is." I want them to be able to recognize them and maybe get a chuckle, a laugh, get excited about what we've done with them.
We must talk about Maximus, coming kind of from the beginning of just a white t-shirt to this beautiful red coat that you made for him. It's just gorgeous. Yeah. What was the inspiration? Kind of a flight?
Yes, exactly. It's just a flight bomber, but we're like, what's the coolest version for him? Because with him and with Lucy, I got one costume for the whole season. I'm like, this better be good. The pressure's on. I just was like, what is the coolest version of a bomber jacket that we could do? It is still subtle. Like, it isn't a, hey, notice me. It's not wearing him. He's wearing it. And you would say, like, he looks great. You wouldn't say that jacket, you know what I mean? Eventually, like, you do notice it, but you don't want it to show up before he does. So, I didn't really think anything of it when we made it other than it was the right jacket, it looked great on him, he felt good, so I was so happy. And then when the show came out, someone said to me, "Google Max bomber jacket," and I was like, "Really? Okay." So, I Googled it, I don't know, maybe it was Max fallout bomber jacket, and there's just so many people knocked it off, you could buy it so many versions, people made it and were selling it, and it just cracked me up. I was so flattered that people noticed it and loved it as they did, but I would have never thought that, that would happen, and there was just version after version after version of people just
Oh, that's so awesome. And you know what? I think going back to talking about your background fashion, I think it looks runway too. I mean, there's something about it too that you have this knack for. I mean, it's pretty fabulous, and I think the way that it's proportioned to his body, proportions with the baggy pants, where it goes into the boot, where the belt hangs. I mean, those are the things that really matter.
It's all proportion, right? Like, it's all, like, exactly what you're saying. It's this compared to this and this sitting against this, and what do you want your eye to go to, and what don't you want your eye to go to? It's all sort of a dance, and that's the fun of it. That's what I love more than anything is, like, there's the yes that I love, and then there's also the no that is great. When someone puts something on, you're like, "Nope, take it off, that's not it." And part of the no is how people sort of trust you because you're not just saying yes to everything because you're being discerning.
I love that the trust. Yeah, it's very interesting. And, sometimes you have to earn the trust with the director, showrunner, sometimes, with the actors, but there's something I feel that too innate kind of understanding the yes or no. And it's so easy to kind of go longer on the jacket, go bulkier on a jacket, go,
Right, make it bigger, make it louder, and, like, sometimes the quiet answer is the right answer. You can kind of notice something later. You can say, "Oh, yeah, that jacket is beautiful," or, "That dress fits her." The Steph suit at the airport, but it had so much to say for itself, but not in a screaming way, like, there's this way that she walks and the way that it makes her move because it is a capelet.
and but how controlled she is. And maybe
Yes.
the capelet is even the armor, what's underneath, who
Yes.
are you? I mean, there's just, you can really think about all of that. And then
Yes.
white kind of too, I was like, white?
It
Why
was after
white?
her wedding, she got married and she came out
Okay.
and she was
Okay,
the
but also
bride,
kind of
right?
some weird innocence, not really. Talking about ladies, what about Lucy and the yellow dress? Wow, beautiful.
Thank you. Again, one chance. I got to put her in one outfit. And so there was so much thought behind it, and there were so many ideas that we had. Yeah, I drew several different versions, and then this was where we landed because it had to read period, and it also had to read period in a close up. So what is that neckline and the details there, which I think really does read period. And she's so beautiful and so easy to dress, so it really wasn't like, "Well, we have to do this and we can't do that." You could do anything on her.
There's that beautiful moment when she walks through the building with all the metal and kind of on a bridge, and it was so cinematic in that way. You could see her kind of doll-like, almost Barbie little dress, our little heroine.
That's exactly what it is. It's exactly right. There was a Barbie version, exactly right. It was also what how did her dad envision her? Because this dress is, from her dad, arguably. So if he was making it, getting it, placing it for her, what would he want to see her in? And so it was doll-like. It was precious. It's the color of sunshine, right? It's got all these things that are sweet and beautiful, and yet I wanted her to be able to move and run, so, that's why it's a bigger silhouette and not a wiggle dress, obviously, because it's youthful, and then all that embroidery, everything was hand embroidered, and we did all these samples of embroidery. We did a version where the vines were growing up the dress and a version where it was coming from the waist, and then we did a version where you could really see the embroidery, where it was a contrasting color. But ultimately, the fact that it is tone on tone, I think makes you look at her before you look at the dress again, and that to me was the answer, was she's beautiful, she's sunshine, but there's no moment where that dress is really a show stealer. That dress is just what she's wearing and she looks beautiful in. We dyed all the fabric because there were I don't have to tell you how many versions of yellow we looked at.
Yeah, really pretty. And how did you guys decide on the boots?
Well, those were her boots, and so I did do shoes for her. There was a version where we did a flat shoe so she could run, and then we did a heel, but really, to keeping her grounded, the answer is her boots, because then she's still Lucy, then she's doing what she has to do, but she's like, "Am I gonna put the dress on?" "Well, why not? I'll put the dress on," but she's not changing her shoes. There's something her character, about how grounded those boots made her, that I think was the right answer.
Practical, too. Like, okay, she knows now. Better be prepared, girl. Did you have many fittings, or how did you try the different versions, or you just kind of landed on this version and went with it?
We didn't do a lot of fittings. I did a lot of R&D, I did a lot of illustration, and then I did a lot of fabric dyeing, all the things, but we didn't try a bunch of silhouettes on her, I don't think.
You don't really see her body very much under the jumpsuit. So it's nice to see her shoulders. It's nice to kind of see her silhouette, her bust in a way, and kind of like, she's so pretty. And then ending with Maximus at the end, too, kind of holding hands. I love that part of their little relationship throughout the story. Continuing on the ladies, what about Barbara?
Barb is amazing. Frances Turner is so fun to dress and so beautiful. I kind of was inspired by the woman that founded Ebony magazine. There's a picture of her in the white suit. She was very professional in the 50s, and so, to me, that picture of her kind of was my jumping off point for Barb, because Barb is a professional at a time where maybe there weren't a lot of professionals, and I kept her in suits and not other women, really, no matter what they were doing. There's dresses, there's cardigans, there's twin sets, there's all these things, but I did a lot of suiting for her, even subconsciously. If you don't know that, when you see these suits on her, she's the boss, it gives her some authority.
So it's boss lady, but it's feminine, it's structured, but it's soft at the same time. I mean, your choice of fabric is beautiful. I love the pink dress. It was stunning. I mean, the execution also was beautiful.
Yeah, we tried to use a lot of vintage fabrics.
Mhm.
Most of them were, some were not, because in season 1, they had done a lot of shine for her, so I carried that through a little bit, and so finding that shine in period fabrics was very challenging, so we kind of took a little liberty with it, where we could, like, we used vintage buttons, and we made her hats, but we would take vintage hats and, like, decide what we wanted to be. Again, Deborah Eberzino, amazing milliner, and so she would make the hats for us for her, which was really fun.
It's that contrast of the two worlds, too. Shine, there's something really beautiful how it reflects in the skin tone and skin of actor. It gives a little glow, which I think everything became a little bit more glowy. I was mesmerized by her looks and kind of how, you kept the continuity very strong for her.
My goal always, and I'm sure you do the same thing, but when you start to dress a character, then you know who they are. And you could walk through a store or look through a magazine and go, well, that's a Barb. Well, that's a Barb. Barb would wear that because you start getting to know who these characters are and what they would and wouldn't do. Once you really know who they are, if you made it or even if you didn't make it, there are things that you know they would like that character.
Again, back to proportion. I mean, her body just lends itself to this suit. It's so absolutely. Did you use the undergarments as well, the 50s undergarments, or
We have to, like, that is how you dress a period, because if you use modern undergarments, there will always be something off. You can put anything you want over it, and if you're not a historian, you're still gonna see there's something really a little strange about that, that doesn't work, like, the pointed bras, the sort of conical bras really make that 50s shape sing, and so if you had a round bust line, there's gonna be something off. On Lucy, you can see it, that a bust line, and on Barb, you can see it, and on Steph. We always start with period undergarments because that helps you. You're halfway there.
and I think that also creates the waist. So then you have the hourglass or all the petticoat or the Dior 50s. Going back to fashion, there is a lot of fashion in there, which I enjoy myself. Maybe some of the gamers will not notice that, but I think to the sophisticated eye for the people who care about costumes and kind of know about fashion, it stands out too. It's really beautiful to see kind of this higher fashion, bringing something to the character that's not just, okay, it's a cute 50s dress, but there is like that another level, of the shine, of the texture, of the fit, being the right color for the scene. And, it's always about the other characters around, who is there, what are the tones.
We can only bring ourselves to the table, so I only have my eye. So I don't have any other way to do it. I can only do it from a fashion perspective because that's my taste, that's my eye, there's times where on purpose you're trying to make something or somebody a little more down, but that doesn't mean they don't look good in some way. That doesn't mean there's so many stories to tell. But my eye is always gonna be, what it was trained for, which is fashion and what I love. And in this show, that only adds to, it doesn't take away from. So it doesn't have to be real. What it is to that moment, so I love the fact that there is a weird little fashion show element to it.
Then you have the background, as you said, so many fun characters and the fractions and the textures. I mean, even to the office people, that was so interesting. I mean, it was like little robots, with the white
Yeah.
shirts and was it gray pants, I think, right?
Some of it is supposed to sort of be background, which is what that was. You notice it because it's you, but most people wouldn't notice that. It is still fitted properly, but it is like it's just clean and bland and it sort of goes behind everything. What's in front of it matters, so it becomes a beautiful backdrop. And that's the thing, because there's a lot of characters in the show that have one outfit, right? Like there's the ghoul and then there's the vault suits. So each location, each background thing is a character in itself.
People may not even realize with the office people, like how much work into something like that goes, because I'm sure you didn't go to just Gap and picked up the shirts. I'm sure you probably made the period correct shirts. I mean, the pants were high waisted, so it's like you see it. It's the right period. Kyle, I mean, I love that suit. It was kind of tight on him. It was interesting.
It was very fitted, but there's something about, again, he knows how to wear a suit. He absolutely felt amazing in it, and I loved, the moment where he was looking through the gray suits and puts it on, and we had sock garters for him. So was this suit exactly period correct? Well, you could argue that it isn't, but that doesn't even matter. That is the beauty. It was born of the period, and then we made it more fitted, and the period tie, the insignia on the tie has so much to say for itself, and the brown against the gray, all of it felt weirdly subdued, and yet, again, look at him and you notice him, you don't notice the suit, but if you look at that suit, it's the right suit.
Yeah, I mean, the texture is amazing. It's kind of like, I don't know, metal meets fabric. Is he a robot himself, I mean, I don't know the game. I mean, who knows, right?
Right,
It
exactly, we don't know, and I don't know what they have in mind for him ultimately. I only know what is on the page for the moment, and so I have not all the information either, but I don't maybe he is robotic, and so there is something sort of metallic, and that fabric was actually not a vintage fabric, but really looks like a vintage fabric. When we're making that suit, and he has so much that he needs to do in it, we don't know how many ultimately we don't know how long he's gonna wear it, we don't know how many multiples we need, but we I can't get 10 yards of fabric, I have to get 50 yards of fabric. I could find 10 yards of vintage fabric, but I can't find enough vintage fabric to do what that suit had to do, so we did find something that, I think really sold the period, but was beautiful and weirdly modern at the same time. It did both things.
The building, it was very interesting seeing him there with the gray on gray. I actually really liked it.
Me too, me too. I'm like a tone on tone person. I really like having a person dressed head to toe in versions of, the same color or someone in a setting and they're wearing but I love the tone on tone idea, different variations on a color.
That's why the show, I think it's fun too, because there's tone on tone. I mean, there's the desert tone on tone, but then there's the shiny, there's the metal, there's the truly it's a feast for the eye.
Yeah, the scale of it is pretty incredible. Just the sheer numbers of what we have to create, and nobody's going out to the mall to go shopping, you know? We're making it, pulling it, buying it, and then I'm not really renting much because the truth is we have to I don't wanna say ruin, but we have to age everything. So you're not doing that to clothes that you're renting. So, there's just so much of this that's purchased and most of it is true vintage. I'm not faking it. This was my favorite background. It was so much fun dressing these kids. Every one of them has a story and a vibe and a personality. I mean, that was such a joy to help create. And the kids watching the kids, they'd come in and you would dress them and they would be like, "What are you doing to me?" And then when they all saw each other and they walked out onto set, it was like Halloween. They were so excited about it, and they were just so proud. And there was a little cowgirl, and there was a little engineer, and there was like a aviator. And so they all just had they were so proud when they ultimately got there, not knowing individually what they were gonna see, and then being in the set, which was incredible, and seeing each other, just experiencing that was really cool.
And kids are great, they really get play, and it's so fun. I mean, I think that they must have just had the best time just going, "Okay, this is, like, the coolest band of post-apocalyptic kids we've ever seen."
That is, like, something I will never forget in my career, being part of that scene. That was really fun.
And then, they have to age it, and they have to get it, and they have to rip it.
Sometimes I'll buy a piece and I just am so sad that what we have to do to it because it's amazing. Old Schiaparelli, like, it's a sin to dirty this up because there's pieces of history, so many of these are. But it is like it becomes a work of art altogether. It's a canvas, and then that's a little bit of paint that you're putting on. Each piece is a little bit of paint on the canvas, and it becomes one big amazing thing. And, it's like you gotta break some eggs to make an omelet, I guess.
There's humor in it, there's humor in this show, there's humor, I think, in the costumes as well. The actors, the way they play the characters too, there's a little bit of, like
They're in on the joke, it feels like to me, like and that's why the writing is incredible, and also just, the showrunner is amazing, just every part of it,
very
and
impressive. I mean, really impressive. I mean, the director of photography work, the production designer work. I mean,
Howard's work is incredible, and so yeah, I've worked with Howard before, and he is such an amazing production designer, and I knew coming into this, like, "You better bring it because those sets are gonna be amazing," so I just knew that we had to rise to that level of what Howard brings to the table because it is really something. No, they like to do everything that they can practically. We're shooting on film, and so much of it is practical, which is cool for us too, because we're really, having to make things we're not counting on, "Oh, that's just gonna happen," like, we participate in all of it.
what I love about, filmmaking and costume design too, it's so collaborative with everyone. Again, being in LA, it's such a joy too. I just did a movie in LA and I haven't worked here in a while. And it's just, having the crews, having and hire, the workrooms, these tailors that I haven't worked in a while, being able to connect with them again and revive kind of our city, and we are, it feels really good. So thank you, showrunners.
I'm so grateful to be here and to have this amazing crew and to be able to support this many people in our department and to know that they're all working and that they're getting union days because this has been a rough time. It's been a really hard time.
We have it here. I mean, look at you shooting in the desert, right? You're probably going to Mojave. Where are you? Your locations are just perfect. I mean,
Everywhere. We are everywhere. Yeah, we are all over. Some of it is in on stage and some of it is out in locations, but there's a lot of driving involved to different places. We have a background track and then
but
our
like a big background track, not a
yeah,
little background track. Where are you gonna put all the armor and all all the
that's right.
headpieces? You need room for all of that.
Yeah,
No.
that's true.
The way that he played the character too was so absolutely amazing. Because you see him in the mask. I mean, that mask was scary. That costume was actually pretty scary, with the points, with like all the horsehair, whatever you use. I mean,
Yeah, it came from the game, and then we added to it. The hair is spectacular. The hair and makeup on the show is so fun, and we all just bring something fun to the table, but I sort of feel like I love that costume, and it's amazing and amazing on him, but then his face and the hair to me just makes it, takes it over the top.
and then he puts the Caesar leaf crown. Like, how many different types did you make of these guys?
There was in the game 8 or 10 different there's veterans and recruits and centurions. Yeah, there was several different levels, and we did wanna be true because in the game, there's a hierarchy, and so we wanted to make sure that the people dressed as certain things were true, their action made sense for where they were or what their, position was. Who's standing next to him and who's walking the person in, so there's different levels of them, and so we needed to kind of respect the game in that way because people would notice if we didn't, and so I wanna make sure that we're respecting the game and doing what we wanna do at the same time.
There's like Ray-Ban sunglasses.
Yes, yes.
Girl.
Well, in the game, there were some sunglasses on the guys, so we just sort of interpreted that. I know there is, like, a tongue in cheek to it, but then there's also, these guys are killing people and they're mean, so both things are true. We want you to be a little afraid of them. There is sort of, a wink and a nod there at the same time.
Thank you for talking to me today. It was just so much fun, and I can't wait to see more of your work in season 3. Congratulations on the nomination. I mean, I'm crossing my fingers. It's so many talented people in our union, and I mean, there's just so many beautiful show. I'm so proud of all of us. Truly bringing this stuff to the table. I think the awareness of our craft is so much more now. I think we as costume designers are much more kind of a force now, part of the, as maybe it was where we were fighting, the women's work and stuff, but I think we are now so much such a force. I think there's more awareness of people who we are, as artists and what we bring to the table. So, it's so wonderful to connect with people like you, my colleagues, and bring the work to the light, so others can enjoy, and hopefully all the fans of Fallout get to kind of go behind the scenes with me and you,
Yeah.
and see the characters. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored that you love the show and that you noticed all the things. Of course, you would notice. If not you, who? But
Right.
it's so nice to have a conversation about the nuance of what we do. We work so hard on every shoelace, on every detail, on everything. It's all I think about. I wake up at 3 in the morning going, "Wait, what are the socks?
Same,
Did we put
same.
out socks?" We spend all our time and energy on it, and I'm, just really grateful to have the conversation with somebody who actually knows exactly the plight and, everything that we're doing.
Oh, I know, girl. I've been those
I
3
know
AM
you do.
wake up with adrenaline going, "Where's that necklace? Did we get one for the double?"
Yes,
Just the other
exactly.
day. Well, wishing you all the best.
Thank you so
Glad
much.
that season 3, all the creative forces come and be there with you, and, I'm sure it's gonna be phenomenal.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dana.
Nice
Have a
talking to you.
Thank you. Bye.